looks gigantic from that perspective. Yikes. Okay, everybody. Hopefully we'll have some people join so I don't feel like a complete imbecile. Ooh, no! A little bit. That's good. Okay. Okay, we'll get going. I'm gonna get some. Hi. I'm just getting some commercials together. Hi, Sandy. Thanks for joining. Good morning. We're getting ready for Soul Sanctuary, everybody. Getting ready for the show. I'm getting some commercials ready. Just studio stuff. Nothing fun. We're gonna start very soon. You have time to go get coffee. Good morning. You have time to go get coffee and settle in. Prop your phone up somewhere the kids won't knock it down. Hi, Velvet. Good morning. I don't have on my headphones. I'm not ready at all. I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there. Okay. I test myself here. Test. Ooh, all right. It's going to be happening. It's getting ready to go, y'all. Got 11 minutes of this, and we have a commercial, and then I'll be getting ready to go live. So hopefully you hung with me for the next just about an hour. I'd love for your opinions. You can kind of chime in. I'm talking about bitterness today. Bitterness. What do you think of when I say bitter? What is bitter? Okay. Put that there. Hey, good morning. Good morning, Adisa. Ooh, we are ready, guys. Ooh, wait a second. Okay. I've been live this whole time. Hey. Oh. Okay, got one more commercial and then I'll go live. I'm actually live anyway. Good morning. Good morning, Rajni. I think it's pronounced Rajni. Good morning. Hi. We're getting ready for a show. Thank you for chiming in. Hang out for a minute. I'm going on right after this promo. Oh, they had a double voice there. It's interesting. Hey, Soul Sanctuary soldiers. Thank you for joining me this morning. Good morning. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, everybody who's joining on Facebook. I'm also on kzsm.org. So if you haven't tuned into kzsm.org, please go to www.kzsm.org. That's where the numbers kind of count. The video is bonus, just for my ego. No. Just so that you can kind of watch the process, what it looks like to do the show from that perspective. And we have a lot of fun here in the chat room. People get to interact and tell me what their ideas are. Today we are going to talk about bitterness because I know that as we go into 2020, we're thinking about what we want to bring with us and what we want to leave behind. And I think that one of the things that most people struggle with is bitterness of some sort. There's some bitterness or some things that you haven't kind of let go of that you'd like to. And so today we're going to talk about a couple of methods for doing that, what to do if you can't actually let go, and kind of the effects that it has on you. So one of the things I asked in the room already was, what do you think of when I say bitterness? What does the word bitterness bring up for you? Is there a picture of a person? Do you see Scrooge McDuck, or what's the guy from the Christmas Carol? Scrooge, yeah, Ebenezer Scrooge. Does that like pop up in your head? Do you think of a certain person in your life? What picture does that draw for you? What imagery do you get from the idea of bitterness? What does that mean? And how have you seen it manifested? Have you seen it on someone before? Have you seen it in yourself? Did you happen upon something that you thought you forgave, but you actually just forgot about for a little while? That's happened to me. I thought I was over and healed from something, and then I got triggered, and I was like, oh, that's not healed. I thought ignoring it was going to do it, but it doesn't, right? So we'll talk a little bit about a couple of things that you can do to actively work on getting past things that you are harboring as bitterness. And we'll talk a little bit about that kind of stuff. We're going to I have a couple of things that I asked the room that we're probably going to go over today. And before we get into bitterness, actually, there was one thing that I posted to the group, the Facebook group, which is Soul Sanctuary MMF. So if you're not a member of Soul Sanctuary MMF, you want to go and join that in Facebook. I'm also Soul Sanctuary TX on Instagram, and actually put a video up there this morning. So yay! I would stream this on Instagram, but I don't know how to yet. She's learning. We're keeping it together as I kind of get a lot of this together. Hi, Stefan. Nice to see you. Hi, Kelsey. Okay. So there's this, I guess it's a meme that I saw, and it's by Witch's Hex, which I don't think matters. But it said there's two things that are simultaneously true. Bad people can and do improve themselves and deserve to have the ability to do so, which is true. I agree. I believe in rehabilitation. But also that even if a person improves, people who they have hurt are not required to forgive them or give them another chance to be in their lives. And isn't that true? So if you've decided that you moved on from a situation or a person, and then you see later, for whatever reason, you have access to the information that they're better, it doesn't mean that you have to change your stride, the direction that you're going in, and what your decision was to do with or about that person. There's some hurts that are deep and difficult to get past, and you don't want to give whoever that person is the chance to have that effect on you again. I get that, and why not? Why expose yourself when it's not necessary? So I think that it's important to see that these things are not diametrically opposed. They're not mutually exclusive. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be that both of those things exist. Yes, that person can go and heal, and no, I don't have to allow them in my space anymore. By the way, if you've ever had a reading with me or a personal conversation, I'm sure you understand that I don't think you have to have anybody in your space that isn't healthy for you. If there's something toxic going on, if there's a person whose mixture with you causes toxicity. I'm not calling anybody a individual toxic anymore, because I don't think that that's what happens. I think the combination of them with you might be toxic. It's kind of like how perfume smells different on different people. You with that person may be toxic, and you with another person, and that person with somebody else might be toxic as well. But I don't think that people are toxic in all situations. I don't think that we're that pure in our expression on the planet. And so instead of it making it just about them being evil or them being toxic, I think it is more true and probably gives them more of a chance to be human to say that when the way that they interact with you is toxic, or they bring out a toxic side of you, that kind of gives that person the ability to be human and to grow and change in whatever ways they need to. And it also releases that attachment to them. See, that's another I think that's another show about attachment. And I think it would take a long time to go into and through. So let's talk about, what do we need to talk about next? Unhealed. Thank you, Jackie, for chiming in, and thanks everybody who's joining me in the room. Hi, Geraldine. It's good to see you. So we're about to talk about bitterness. So let me get into that. These are not in order. Give me just a minute. I'm so sorry. Oh, and one of the pages is not even here. Oh, wonderful. We're flying by the seat of our pants today. We're gonna work it out anyway. So I don't know what the first four things were because it's not on here. But we're gonna jump into the rest of it that I have available to me. Face up to your hidden fears. So in order to deal past, deal through, deal in, or heal something that's made you bitter, this suggestion is that you face up to your hidden fears. It says bitterness is often a perfect disguise for fear of change or of failing. And who doesn't have a fear of failing? Most people that I meet do, and so that keeps them from trying out, stretching their wings out, and moving forward. This kind of fear that it won't work out. But whenever someone asks me about, or when we have a reading like in fear of failure comes up, what I like to kind of think about is the idea that where you are right now isn't working. It isn't working. It's in your energy as incorrect. It's not moving you towards what you want. There's an error. And so if you're already in a bad position, why be scared of like trying to get out of it? The worst thing that could happen is you'll end up where you are, and you're already where you are, and you don't like it. So, at least stretch yourself enough to try for the chance, the hope that something else could be better. And sometimes that's really all that you need to move you from a really stuck kind of place. And we've all, I think, ended up in situations where we've been stuck. Once you've been around the sun a couple of times, I think that you at least had a moment or two where you were stuck. And to move forward, it's going to take brave action. And wouldn't it just be great if you could look at yourself in the mirror the next day and say, I did something brave. I tried XYZ, whatever that is to you, whatever that means to you. I was vulnerable to that person. I apologized first. Or I moved that situation from distracting you, from keeping you on your path. And as we make our New Year's resolutions and we kind of get ready for what we're going to do with a brand new year, a brand new month, and a brand new week and all that, why don't we do that having let go of kind of the negative self-talk that keeps us from getting any of this stuff done. Plan for mistakes. When you're making goals, plan for the idea that it's not going to probably work 100%. You're changing the way that you live, and so you're probably going to stumble. And I think if you plan for that, and if you accept that that's probably part of it, that gives you a little bit more realistic experience and setup so that you can actually win and get through it. So this is talking about face up to your hidden fears. So if you deal with the fear, you won't have bitterness anymore. If you deal with the fear, you won't need the bitterness anymore. If you deal with the fear, you won't need the bitterness anymore. That's an interesting way to say that. Because I don't think about bitterness as something that you need, but I guess it's a tool, right? And we can't do anything that's not justified in our mind. So if I think about it that way, I guess need works. That's a weird way to say that. The example that they give is if you're claiming you'll never if you're claiming that you'll never do the PhD you dreamed of because you were scammed out of all of your savings, you might discover that actually you're terrified and you're not smart enough for it. That's why you're not doing it. So the bitterness about the money is something that you use instead of working on your confidence, taking a student loan and going on with your dreams. Oh, yeah, that explains it. Good example. So you've put it's like a red herring, right? You've put the blame on why you don't have something on this thing over here. And if you were to let go of that blame, that bitterness for a minute and just go after it anyway, you will have achieved it, and you can be an anyway people. As I say to my sons, we're anyway people. Yes, that's wrong. Yes, that's broken. Yes, that hurt. But we're going to do it anyway. We're anyway people, because I want to put into their little heads that one thing, one monkey don't stop no show, as my mom would say. So I do like that idea. You can kind of let go of that one excuse, like what's holding me here? What's keeping me attached here? And is that coming from another person? Is that coming from me? Am I doing that? And when you take responsibility for it, you can let the thing go. You can use it to beat yourself up. You really can. That is absolutely your choice. But you can also take that power in that responsibility to let the thing go. So face up to your hidden fears. Give me a thumbs up if you are on board with face up to your hidden fears as one of the steps that we need to take in order to release bitterness. Good deal. Great. Thanks, guys. Forgive, but only at your own pace. I like that idea. Sometimes when people say to forgive and try to force forgiveness where it isn't, I think the results are so much worse because you get yourself into situations that are so uncomfortable and you're so close and you're so exposed to either people or situations that are just not good for your spirit. So it says forgive, but only at your own pace. It says fake forgiveness can be a way of just denying how you feel or even hold you back from processing emotions and situations. So fake forgiveness can be a way of just denying how you feel. Oh, there was a really cool term that somebody shared with me about denying how you feel. It was like soul muting, something like that. My friend Jenny said it. I don't remember what it was. But the term had something to do with denying your actual feelings, denying your spirit, denying your soul, and how damning that can be, right? And so this is talking about forgive, but do it at your own pace. So what if right now you gave yourself permission to forgive whatever it is that is causing bitterness for you, but at your own pace? Make the decision to do it, but instead of making some kind of timeline on it or testing yourself with it immediately, just allow the idea that I'm forgiving. And also the idea of what forgiveness is to release the idea that it could have been different. I think that's all that forgiveness is. It's just accepting what happened because it did. Oh, thank you, Kelsey. I'm so glad. You released what that it could have been different because it wasn't different. That happened. That time changed. And by the way, like realizing that whatever you're bitter about is not happening to you right now. I know it's gross. I know that's a disgusting thought. It's a gross thought because it causes you to have to take to choose to take responsibility for what happened. It is not happening right now. There's several things that I'm bitter about, and none of them are happening to me right now. Not in this moment. In this moment, they are not happening. They may have happened. They have happened for years. But in this moment, as I'm speaking into this microphone and to this camera, it's not happening right now. Right now, what's happening is my stomach's grumbling because I'm hungry. And the coffee's swirling around in it, trying to give me energy. But what's happening right now is not what I'm bitter about. The only person keeping that going in my life is me. Terrible. It's one of those thoughts that, you grapple with, but kind of dealing through it would be so much better, would allow so much more healing. And so let's just maybe meditate on that. We're going to go into a break here in just a second. And while we do, think about the idea that and the fact that whatever it is that you're bitter about is not happening right now. I know. Every time I say it, like kind of shakes me and I don't want to hear it. But it's true. And I think that dealing from that place is so much healthier than any other. So let's go into our break. And on the other side, we'll talk more about bitterness. You're listening to Soul Sanctuary. If you haven't gone to kzsm.org, please use this break to do so. Pop over to kzsm.org. That's where the radio show is live. All right. See you in just a minute. Woo! Coffee, guys. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody listening. Thank you for watching and listening. I hope you go to kzsm.org. Let me know if there's something with the volume or not. I'm distracted by my stomach. Being hungry. I should have had a tamale this morning. Good morning, group. Thanks for staying. Everybody took time to log on my Facebook. I appreciate you so much. One more commercial for a promo. Coffee. Who's got their coffee? Tell me what you're drinking this morning. What are you drinking? Good morning, Tammy. We got one more commercial after this one, and then I'll be back. I mean, promo. I'm not allowed to say commercial. It's really bad at it. All right. Okay. We're just about ready to go back on the air. If you haven't gone to kzsm.org, please pop over if you can. That'd be great. All right. Lemon water. Hey, everybody. We are back. Soul Sanctuary Soldiers checking in on Facebook. Hey, Tiffany, and everybody who's checking in here over the internet at kzsm.org. Thank you so much. If you're listening to a replay of the show, please pop me a note. I would love to see what your experience is listening to it on a replay versus live. Your feedback would be fantastic. Hi, Morena. And so I appreciate you taking the time to listen to the show. Today we are talking about bitterness. And so far I've asked the room, what image or what is conjured up in your mind when we say the word bitter? What does bitter mean to you? What has your experience been with it so far? And what have you learned? What have you learned about bitterness so far in this lifetime? Maybe it'll pop up on the list. One of the last things that we said before break last time was about how whatever it is that you're bitter about is not happening to you right now. Because it's not. Hi. What you're holding on to it, you may be replaying it, reliving it in your mind's eye, but it is not physically occurring at this moment. Most probably. There's a moment when the thing happened, but every moment after that is not that thing happening. And so there's like this detachment, I think, that we can kind of get ourselves to see when we let go of the idea that what we are allowing to affect us is no longer in our experience. All right? So we stopped at, we did not. The next thing we're going to do is, and don't forget to forgive yourself too. Forgive yourself too. Now, I like that we're taking a moment to talk about forgiving yourself, because one of the coolest things that I've seen Iyanla Vanzant talk about and do, I think it was In the Meantime, she suggests that you write down 20 times, I think every morning, that I forgive myself for thinking that I ever did anything wrong. I forgive myself for thinking that I ever did anything wrong. And so there's this releasing of guilt that you get to do about your experience and whatever you're holding yourself accountable to for having done something wrong. Now, how do you get to the idea that I forgive myself for ever thinking I did something wrong? I did this thing and it was definitely wrong. Well, here's how you can do it. Accepting the idea that one can only do what is justified in their mind. Like the way the human mind works is you can't do anything that's not justified in your mind. So for whatever reason, there was an outcome, there was a payoff, there was a reason why you made whatever decision that you made. And it was based on the information you had up to that point. In the moment of doing it, you might be getting new information that changes, what you would have done. But whatever decision that you made, whatever you did do is based on information that you had up to that point. It may also be based on immaturity. It may also have impatience in it. It may also have ego in it. But having done whatever it is that you did, and the need for you to release it is because it had to have been justified at that time. And so forgiving yourself too, forgiving yourself has so much payoff in it. Forgiving yourself gives you the grace with yourself to go after your biggest dream. The grace with yourself to not, just chug all the alcohol, to not eat all the food, to release some of what you're doing to self-sabotage. Once you let yourself kind of off of the hook, you can really find some grace and love for yourself inside of that. If you just take a moment right now to think about some of the things that you've said to yourself just so far this morning, some of the phrases, terms, situations that you brought up to yourself just so far this morning that have nothing to do with your walk right now, that are terrible and that you would never allow anybody to say to your child. And then put compassion around that and understand that's coming from a wound, that's coming from some hurt, that's coming from some bitterness. And you have the choice to not be spoken to that way. You have the choice to not speak to yourself that way. You have the choice to not move that way and not have your day. It's a beautiful day already. And to have started it with this idea that you're already damned, it's a shame. I think it's some kind of blasphemy. I don't think you're supposed to do that to yourself. And so I give you permission to take all the negative thoughts, the triggering thoughts you've had so far today, and all the terrible things that you said to yourself so far today, and release them. Spit them out. Go somewhere and spit all that out. Release it. Let it out. Let it go. The full moon that just passed is one for completion. So we're going to complete stuff here in the last couple of days of this year before we get ready for 2020, right? So that's forgiving yourself too. It said it might be the hardest, but most important part of moving on from bitterness is supporting yourself. It's possible to hold on to bitterness for a long time so you can focus your anger on something else. Because the truth is that you're furious at yourself, and that feels too hard to face. Maybe you are. Are you furious at yourself? I have been. I am right now for a couple of things, actually. Furious at myself. I'm so mad. Like, if little me would come up and see what's going on with this age me, she'd be like, girl, you don't get it together immediately. And so you get furious with yourself, right? Maybe, I don't know, spend some time in the mirror cussing yourself out. Get it out. Don't let it live inside you and cause cancer. Let some of that anger go. And that has to do with forgiving yourself. Okay, we talked a little bit before about how whatever you're bitter about is not happening right now. And the next step here says, step into the now. It says, get into the now moment by concerning yourself with current opportunities and goals that are about you in a positive future. Right. Yeah. I've always said, like, if we were to spend as much time as it takes to actualize ourselves, on ourselves, we wouldn't have time for anybody else's BS. It just takes too much time. Like, if you were actually to do all the yoga that you need to do, and actually to drink all the water you need to drink, and whatever, food plan you're on, to concentrate on that and food prep for it so you'll be good for the next week. Like, if you were actually to put all the time that it takes into yourself and your kiddos or whoever else you're responsible for, and focus yourself 100% on yourself and those that you are immediately responsible for, I swear you wouldn't have time to be on Facebook. I swear. I swear you wouldn't have time to binge watch 6 episodes of anything, even if it's as good as Mrs. Maisel. And Mrs. Maisel is fantastic. But you wouldn't have time to binge watch 4 episodes of it, 6 episodes of it, if you were finishing your book, the book you need to write, It really is about, like, taking your energy. You have a limited amount of time and energy. That's true. And so does everybody else. But what do you want to be exhausted from? Making HBO rich, or your book, or, changing your kids' bedtime so that you have a minute or two by yourself, or with your spouse. Do you know? Like, what would you rather be exhausted from? You're going to be exhausted anyway. This society is set up to zap every bit of strength that we have every day. So it is highly unlikely that you're going to get through the day with all your energy at the end of it. So choose what you're going to do. Do you guys remember when Cassie was on my show with me? And she said, she's a personal trainer, and she said, you're always training. It's just, what are you training for? Do you remember what she said? And I had that terrible reaction. I was like, oh, that's gross. Don't say that. Why would you say that? Because it really gives you this idea that you're responsible for what your body's able to do in the next 20 years, and you've been training it for it. Whatever we're able to do now and whatever we're experiencing now in our body, we trained our bodies to do that. It's just responding to what we told it to do. And so that's true with your mind, with your body, with everything. So what are you training to do? What kind of moves do you want to be able to make in 80 years? Are you heading straight for the Jazzy at the Walmart? the Jazzy's little motorized thing. Or do you want to be able to walk on your own steam? Train your body for it. Get yourself ready for it. Get your joints limber and your muscles toned and some of that fat off if you need to. What are you training for? So that's step into the now. And then branch out. How scary is it to reach out for help and connection to other people? Man, that's hard. It's really hard, and it's scary, and there's this idea of rejection. As I've become like a mom and making mom friends, I experience what I guess guys go through when they're teenagers, when they're trying to reach out and connect. Why do I say guys? That's been my experience. I experience what I think it's like for, I guess, whoever it is who's trying to make the first move and kind of initiate a relationship. That fear of rejection is crazy. Oh man, I mean, like I've texted people I want to go to lunch with or have our kids play and stuff, and the idea that they won't text back, or they'll text back something flippant or something that's clearly not true and stuff. It's hard. It gets your ego involved, and man, it really puts you on pins and needles. So branching out is difficult to do. But what does it say about branching out as far as it's concerned with bitterness? It said bitterness tends to fade in the face of excitement and joy. In other words, new and better experiences. Explore a long-time interest and reconnect with others. Choose some new things to put into your life. Explore a long-time interest, right? So go after something that you've always been connected to. Like for me, it's the ocean and marine biology type stuff, dolphins and whales and all sea mammals. And so getting myself involved in that kind of thing would do something else with my mind. Give my mind something to chomp on other than whatever I'm sitting here being bitter about as far as that person's concerned. And I think you should fill your life with that anyway. Like have those things, have something to look forward to next week. If I asked you right now, guys in the room, if I asked you right now, what are you looking forward to that's going to happen next week? Is there an answer? And if there's not, can you create one by the end of the day to look forward to for the next week? Like I think that it's important to have things to look forward to pull you forward, because sometimes what you're experiencing in the moment is not fun, but if you know that next week there's something coming up that you are looking forward to, that can kind of pull you along. And I think that has everything to do with branching out. Schedule to have coffee with a friend. If you don't have any money, you can probably find enough for at least, if not a special coffee, a regular coffee in your couch or in your car in the backseat. Get some change together to go out and just have coffee and sit and let the kids run around and crawl all over you while you talk with whoever makes you feel at least comfortable. And I think that's a great way to spend your time. You're going to set up for yourself. The next thing is to set up mini goals for yourself every day. All right. What's a good mini goal for yourself? I think a couple are to stretch or do yoga for 10 minutes. Start with that. To have 8 glasses of water today, I think is a great mini goal for yourself. To make your bed and pick up 6 things off the ground, something like that. Just write down and have a little mini goal for yourself so you can check off it. And like while you're, that kind of self-loving and compassioning yourself through growing up and growing past whatever made you bitter, growth is happening. You grow. You have more energy for yourself, and you're learning how to have compassion for yourself and step you through what isn't healed, and that's so important. It says make sure that your goals are achievable. Feeling a failure is the opposite of what you want here. Use SMART goals. You guys know what SMART goals are? SMART. Look that up if you don't. There's 5 different steps to making goals. And make sure they're SMART goals for your mini goals, just like you would have with a larger goal. And so make sure, hi Brandy, so make sure that you do that's okay, make sure that you do put your goals in the context of SMART, which means that, it's measurable, it's timeable, it's relatable, it's relevant. I think last week we talked about how if you achieve something or if you win something that you had no passion for, it's almost worse than losing. Well, I think it is worse than losing something you actually cared about, right? So make sure that the goals that you set up for yourself, these mini goals for every day, do follow that SMART goal guideline. Okay, so we have to jump into a break. I'm actually a little bit over. Whoops! We'll jump into our break, and then on the other side of it, we'll talk more about what we can do to get over bitterness. I will see you guys on the other side. Coffee. Hi, Brandy. Jackie, you still here? Thank you for still being here. Thank you for staying. Thanks for staying, Morena. Thanks for staying, Tammy. And I think that's Velvet. I think is the other person that's here. Hi. Do you have coffee? I can wave. I'm going to wave at people. So it's going to look funny while I scroll through and wave. Ah, I'm so glad you guys are hanging out. It's awesome, awesome, awesome. Makes me feel fantastic. It's the reason why I got up and put a little tiny bit of makeup on. Cuddling babies. Yay. Hey, hey. Got one more commercial. Ooh, I need to get some commercials. Let me know if there's something you guys want to talk about that we need to get to on bitterness. I'm listening. I am listening. This is the last commercial. After this, we're going to go back in. Thank you, Brandy. It's really not true. I look like Olga without makeup on. You know Olga from, what is that? The Never-Ending Story? With the one eyeball she takes out. Hey guys, we're on the other side of the second break. We're about halfway through the show. And today we are talking about bitterness and how to heal past bitterness. Get past it, get through it, get on the other side of it. And I wanted to talk about kind of the reason why I felt like bitterness wasn't important. And I'll tell you, within a week, several years ago, I guess 20 years ago now, within a week, I was at two different elderly ladies. I was around two different elderly ladies. They were about 80 and 83, I think. And one of the ladies had this, like, scowl. Her face was like a permanent scowl, just at all times. It was just a terrible kind of contortion to her face. And it turns out that she was a really bitter lady. She had a lot of, a bunch of vitriol for anybody who ever said anything. She always had a mean word to say or something terrible to kind of point out in all situations. And she looked like she did. Like I wish I could explain the yuck of her face. It was just a very unpleasant one. And then I was at, no, the other lady wasn't 80. She was 92. I was at her 92nd birthday party, and she was on the dance floor, and she was dancing, and she looked like a fairy. She had the most beautiful, angelic energy, and her face was this sweet, sweet kind of, her natural face was just really sweet and warm and welcoming, and she was just really gorgeous to me, and she was 92. And so I was like, what's the difference between these two ladies? One was 10 years older than the other one. What is the difference between these two ladies? And the one who was dancing around at a birthday party, by the way, they threw her a surprise birthday party, you know, the people that loved her, was that she was really, really, she had so much compassion. She was just a really compassionate person. And I asked her, I was so fascinated by her. I asked her, ran over to her and asked her something about how did she get to be this age and have so much vibrancy and so much youth and stuff. And her response was something about having let things go. That she decided to let stuff go, that she doesn't hold on to things. And that's why she looked as gorgeous as she did. And so when our parents told us, those of us who were of a certain age, when our parents told us your face will get stuck like that, it's true. It does. So if you're mostly scowling and making, ice grilling people, then when you get older, you get to have a permanent ice grill. You get to look like that at all times and scare children. But if you don't, if you, are able to find some way to have joy through things, compassion, and love yourself, let go of some of that bitterness, then you get to look gorgeous when you get older. Your face gets stuck like that. That's what they meant. I finally understand it. I don't know if that's what they meant, but that's how I'm taking it, because it's useful for me now. That if you let go of it and you allow yourself to relax and you have, find the sweetness that's still here in life, then you get to experience life that way. And maybe people will throw you a party on your 92nd birthday. Wouldn't that be cool? So that's where, and that kind of started my journey of thinking about bitterness and what does bitterness do, and who do I know who's bitter, and how does it show up like people my age? Do I know anybody my age who's bitter? Yes. And what does that look like? Ew. And do I know anybody who's younger who's bitter? Yes. And does it take away from their beauty? Beauty of their soul, beauty of their face, beauty of their energy? Yes. It's heavy and it's hard to be around, you know, like I love when I run into somebody who, whatever they're facing in this life so far, they're still able to hold on to this sweet kind of innocence and energy and beauty of life. The reverend that used to go to the church I went to before, the Smooth Church, the San Marcos UU Church, her name was Scotty. She's not here anymore. But when she was, she had just the best hugs in the world. She hugged you like you were the only person on the actual planet. And she just was so loving and so nurturing. She just felt amazing. And she had a great church because of it. Lots of people went to the UU Church and were really, she was just the most magnetic person. And I wondered, why did she love me so much so soon? She didn't know me. Like immediately, she just talked to me like the sun actually rose directly behind me. I felt like those what are those, like Catholic things that have like a sun, a halo behind people? Like that's how she made you feel. And that just was her energy. That's just who she was. So a reverend was the perfect job for her. And I was wondering how, or if it's possible for me to be that forgiving, to be that loving, to be that daring, to make myself that vulnerable to other people, that I can give that much love out at no cost, expecting nothing from anybody else, like not expecting it back from them and not for any ulterior motive, just giving that love out because that's who I am. What an amazing being. She's such a great example of a person. And I'm so glad I got to know her this lifetime, and I met her when I did. And I wonder how much we can do that, be a source of love, just because. Like, who does that? Who has time for that with all the tasks I have to do and all the roles I have to play? Can I also be that soft and that vulnerable and that open? Man, it's like gold. I hope so. I hope that I can. And I think that part of that is getting through bitterness. So we talked about a couple of different things that we can do to work through bitterness. One of the last ones we're going to talk about is to try a new perspective. Try a new perspective reminds me of the Hanged Man card, which is 12 in the Major Arcana, for those of you who read cards. So what do they mean by this? Try a new perspective. It says, a mood of embitterment can have us seeing life from a very narrow perspective indeed. Yes, it can. A great coaching tool to help you move forward in life is to imagine that the situation you are struggling with, what it would look like from a different viewpoint. It's telling you how to change your perspective. So what would it look like from a different viewpoint? You know, that reminds me of that old saying, my dad says it a lot, is don't argue with the fool because, you know, if somebody who's watching can't tell who's who. Right. If you're arguing with the fool, who's the fool? Right. So if you were to look at this situation from a different perspective, does it look like, you know, you have the victimhood that you've imagined, and does it look like you were wronged the way you imagined, or could it look more balanced than that? Could it have been that there are other factors that actually would play into how the situation happened? And if you can stand it long enough or face, like, emotionally, objectively, whatever the situation is, objectively, if you can face it objectively enough, then maybe you can gain some reason to let go of it. And see, that bitterness is attached to our perspective. It's attached to how we decided to interpret this story. And you can change the story. We have an amazing imaginations. So why imagine it bad? Why not imagine it in a way that's empowering for yourself, that can encourage you to move forward? Isn't that, like, better to do with whatever situation that you're dealing with? So before, like, as we kind of sum up on what we're talking about with bitterness, I want you guys to tell me what your experience with bitterness is. What's your experience with it? What experiences have you had with it? What have you learned from it? What has it caused in your life? Have you missed opportunities or gotten opportunities because you decided to be bitter or to not be bitter? You changed your perspective on that. What has been your experience with the idea of bitterness? And does it make sense to you to let go of whatever it is? I mean, if you have enough reason, if you've justified it to yourself enough to be bitter about something, You get to keep it for absolutely as long as you want to. But the question is, why? What is it doing for you? What is it doing for you? What is it? Is it contributing to your greater good? A lot of times when I listen to Wiccan stuff, there's a really good way they have of saying, release what no longer serves you. Like, release what no longer. That was going on a lot this week because of the full moon. I had a lot of friends posting stuff about release what no longer serves you. What no longer serves you. So let's make a list. If we can, here in the next break, we have about 20 minutes left of the show. And so in this time, if you can find a scrap of anything and anything to write with, why don't we make a list of what no longer serves us? That's still here, that we woke up with this morning. What is it? What is it? Is it unworthiness? Is it lack of compassion? Is it unrequited love? Right? Is it being in a relationship with someone who you no longer vibe with? Is it the way that you talk to yourself, negativity? What is it that no longer serves you that you can identify right now? You don't have to worry about finding everything. I don't know if there isn't everything, but I'm sure that there's low-hanging fruit, and I'm sure that there's thoughts that you went to bed with last night and that you woke up with this morning that you can identify and write down. You can type it into the chat. Thank you, Marina. You can type it into the chat, too, if you're here listening to me, watching me on video. Or if you watch this at a replay. Tell me, what is it? It has a name. It's not so big that it can't be named, right? And that it can't be at least identified. What is it? What are you holding on to? Why are you 50 pounds heavier than you need to be? There's a reason. Are you protecting yourself from something that happened to you 20 years ago? It's not happening right now. You don't have to hold on to that. And if you're not sure what that thing is and what your low-hanging fruit is, like if you have numbed yourself out to the point where you can no longer identify what the problem is in the first place, please reach out to whatever you believe in. Get a tarot reading or, I don't know, journal. Figure out what that is, because if something has a stranglehold on you and is actually suffocating the life out of you, I want you to find it and I want you to fix it. And I would love for you to be able to share it with those who you love, because we all need some healing, right? We all need to move past some things. All right. Let's chomp through our last break, and then on the other side of it, we'll finish talking about bitterness, and we'll talk about whatever else pops up. I'll see you guys on the other side. Hi, friends. Hi, everybody who joined. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Danielle. It's good to see you. Oh, somebody wrote me a note. Hold on. Okay. Oh, I lost my page. Hold on, guys. I'm coming back. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Hi. Hi, everybody who's here. Sorry, I was pushing buttons. I didn't know I shouldn't. Hi, Allie. Hi, baby. Okay. We've got like one more commercial, and then we'll jump back into the last part of the show. I read everything except for this. You're so welcome. Hi, guys. I think we have one more commercial and then a promo, and then I'll be back on. Hi. What do you think? What do you think about bitterness? Did you learn anything? Is there anything you can use to move forward? Hi, Wendy. Are you back home? Hi. I'm glad to see you guys joining me. It's great. I think this is it. Like 10 seconds. Good morning. Okay, we are going to chomp through. Hi, Deborah. Nice to see you. Hey, we're back here on after our last break here. If you're listening on Facebook, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for joining me. If you can go over to kzsm.org and tune in, that's fantastic. That's where the radio show is broadcasting. You won't be able to see me, on that page, but you will be able to listen, and you can take it in your car and stuff like that. So today we talked about and chomped through some ideas in and around bitterness and letting go of it. We talked a tiny bit about why to let go of it, about how it can affect even how you look into your old age, and how it definitely affects and suffocates the life out of you for right now, for what you can experience for right now. One of the last questions I asked actually on Facebook for just, I don't think it was on Soul Sanctuary's page, it was of my regular Facebook family, was about, it was one of my favorite quotes from T.D. Jakes, and it was, could someone else win with the hand that you're losing with? And the idea, the question, is about, like, have you just misorganized your hand? Have you just set yourself up to where you're not actually moving through it? But it's not that bad. And if somebody else had the resources that you had, could they make that work? And I believe the idea behind that is, if the answer is yes, then that means you can. How could somebody else do something that you can't do? Right? If they could, and if you can see that and you can identify that, then that means, all right, so figure it out. Figure out how you can, what's the difference between you and that person? And how can you, what's the through line? If you can start working on that, chomping on that, then you'll be the one that's winning with what you have, or at least doing better with it. I thought about like a game of spades. And in spades you have so many books that you can have, and high cards and spades give you books. And could somebody else work this better than me? Yeah, probably. I probably have like 6 books, and I'm only getting 3 out of this. Well, what way would I need to move in order to get more success? And the point is, one of my Facebook friends said, well, it depends on what you mean by win. Yeah, it does, and it depends on what you mean by lose. Every single word in that phrase is subjective. Every single one. But if when you read it, a yes resonated with you, then it's yes. Then that means I'm not doing everything that I can here. And now you have the choice to decide whether you're going to or not. You can go back and do more with it or not. That's 100% up to you. And before we kind of end the show today, one of the other things that I posted that I wanted to share online is things that all human beings experience. Because I'm afraid that, or I know that, one of the things ego likes to do is isolate. It likes to isolate you and make you think like you're the only one, and that you're an anomaly, and that what you're feeling is especially hard, and you're especially unlovable, and you're especially this, you're especially that, you're especially anything. It's all a lie. But ego has a way of kind of making us feel isolated. It kind of singles us out. And I want you to recognize that that's one of the things that abusers do, right? You know anything about people who abuse other people, domestic violence guys and girls, sorry, both do it, is they isolate the victim, take them away from their friends and family. And the reason they do that is because friends and family be like, hey, that's not right. You're not supposed to be feeling that. You're not supposed to be going through that. They'll pull them out. And so an abuser has to isolate. That's what abusers do. That's what ego does too. It'll make you feel like you're the only one going through that, so that you have that kind of fear of reaching out and that fear of connection. And you'll start doing it to yourself. But the truth is that there's a lot of things that we all go through and that we all experience, and that we can learn from each other if we just were to talk honestly about it. And here's a few of them that someone collected in a list, right? So, the feeling of being a fraud or unworthy of putting your gifts into the universe. Everybody has that. Everybody has that fear of, I'm faking it, faking every part of this. None of this is real. None of these are my gifts, and none of this is worth. Nobody wants to hear it. It's not okay, and it's not time to share it. Every single person feels that, and I can confirm that. Sitting down with people, and when it comes up in the cards that it's time for them to do their dharma, it's time for them to share their gifts, there's this fear that they feel about this. Like, maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe it's not that great of a gift. But you absolutely get to share that. Okay? Seasons of anxiety, grief, or sadness. Seasons. That's plural, and it says seasons, not minutes or moments. Seasons of anxiety, grief, and sadness. We all go through that. I mean, life is there's some sad parts of life. If it works the way it's supposed to, we lose our parents. How awful is that? That's terrible. Some people I know have already actually experienced that. What an awful thing to have happen in your lifetime. But that's when it's working the way, the way that it's supposed to, quote unquote, right? You are supposed to go through the grief of not being able to call up your parent anymore. That sucks terribly. And there's a whole lot of stuff like that life has in it that you get to go through, if it happens typically. And so everybody has sadness, anxiety, and grief, and there's seasons of those things. A fantasy of escaping life. Everybody has a fantasy of escaping life. And the extent to which you do that, or the extent to which you play into or actualize that fantasy, I guess it depends on your sign and your resources. But everyone fantasizes about it. Feeling trapped in a relationship or marriage, even if it's a healthy one. Wow, how does that not come up? There's so many people I know who have relatively good relationships and feel trapped in it, even if it's healthy. It's because it's not about whether or not it's healthy. It's about the way that we do relationships here in this country. It's pretty limiting, Most people are practice monogamy, and so there's that to deal with, and then there's whatever idiosyncrasies come up in that particular relationship for you. And who can't, you gotta feel trapped sometimes. If it's Saturday and all you want to do is watch the game and you have to go to IKEA, there's little parts of it that I'm sure don't always vibe 100% completely and compatibly, but it's about choosing, right? Choosing, I guess it's about finding a prime directive and choosing around that. Jealousy, lust, and intense fear of unworthiness. Jealousy, lust, and an intense fear of unworthiness. It says plus an intense fear of unworthiness. So I was saying and, but this says plus. So while you're feeling jealousy and lust, you also feel this intense fear of unworthiness. What a gross soup that is. And we all feel that way. So just accept that if that's going on, it's human. You're not especially weird. You're not especially anything. We're all on this marble at the same time. We have very similar vibrations. And the last one is a desire to ignore the other. I'm going to start over. A desire to ignore the needs of everyone around them to fulfill their own. Right? Of course you have that. Of course you want everybody to go and hold their own sack in situations so that you can take care of yourself for a minute. I mean, parents, that's an intense feeling that happens a lot because your kiddos are so dependent on you that probably before they're ready, each parent I know has experienced, I wish they could just do it themselves. It's exhausting being an everything to a little being that looks up to you, and by the way, also has all of your shadow and all of the things you haven't worked out and figured out how to love in yourself too. It's an intense job, and I think that if you just take a minute to kind of accept that whatever it is that you're going through is not special, it's not especially gross, it's not especially anything, then you have a better chance of seeking out ways to deal with it in a healthy way. And if you don't take anything else from this show today, please take the idea that you deserve compassion from you. Whether or not you get it from anybody else, I don't know. That depends on your choices and what you're putting up with and what you're settling for and a whole lot of other circumstances, what your sign is. But the fact that you deserve compassion from yourself is so true. When the universe or God put you together, whatever you believe in, they took your personality traits into consideration. Your impatience, your intolerance, right, was all taken into consideration. Your capacity, your intelligence, and all of that was swirled together and made you. And so you deserve compassion from yourself. There's no guarantee you're going to get it from anybody else. But the kind of grace and patience that it's going to take to change the things that you want to change inside of yourself come from compassion. So let's start there. Let's start from just giving yourself whatever amount of self-love you can dig out today. And then tomorrow do a little bit more. I hope that you enjoyed the show today. We were talking about bitterness, and hopefully we're able to let go of some, or at least understand that it's a typical response to some of the ways that we experience life here. And that you can find some healing in it. If you have anything great to say or anything terrible to say, come join us and bounce your ideas off of us here at the Soul Sanctuary Facebook page. It's Soul Sanctuary MMF, like Mary Frank. If you're in town, please come down to the farmers market. I'll be doing readings from 9 to 1. They're always cheaper the first hour. So come down and get your life. Tomorrow night, there is Abracadabra Market at Wake the Dead. You can come join me there, and that is from 6 to almost 12. And I think that's all I have to plug. If you want a reading and you're not here in town, you can go to High Tarot, HAITAROT.com, or High Tarot on Instagram or Facebook. However you reach out to me, I promise I'll reach back. I love y'all for listening, and thanks for joining. I hope you'll be here next Saturday, and enjoy your weekend. See you soon. Bye. Bye, guys. I'm getting ready to get out of here. Thanks for joining me. I'm all out of stuff to say, and my stomach is really grumbling. So if you do come by to get a reading, I'll see you there. I'm going to go find some tamales at this farmer's market and set up my tent. If you are coming down, just look up San Marcos Farmer's Market and you'll be able to get there. Love to you all. Have a great day. Bye. Bye.